The laughter hit me before the words did. A wall of noise, sharp, glassy, the kind that cuts through the air, through skin, through every layer of composure I had built to survive her world. I stood in the middle of the ballroom, her company's new branch opening, my name printed discreetly on the sponsorship banners, my money woven into the lights, the wine, the velvet floors. And then I heard it. "The 1-minute man in bed is here." It slid across the crowd like oil. Soft chuckles. Some people looked down at their drinks, pretending not to hear. Others looked right at me, smiling. I followed their eyes and found her, my wife, Lena, in a crimson dress that looked like it had been made to bleed. Her hand rested on the shoulder of a man I recognized from her phone once, a name I'd pretended not to notice. Darren. He leaned close to her ear, whispered something. She laughed, and then he called out to the guards, "Get this impotent man out of here!" The laughter turned into an echo chamber. Cameras flashed. I stood still, hands at my sides, face unreadable. I didn't say a word. I just walked out, quietly, each step slicing through the noise. By the time I reached my car, my phone buzzed once, a calendar reminder. Company payments due, 11:59 p.m. I smiled and drove home. The truth had been rotting for weeks. I'd smelled it. The late meetings, the distant eyes, the sudden perfume that didn't belong to our house. She said it was new branding for the women's line, but I knew that scent. It was his. The same one I'd smelled on her when she came home at 2 a.m. after a product launch dinner. Lena used to look at me like I was her safe place. Now she looked at me like I was her weakness, a liability. When I asked her once, "Are you happy?" she said, "I'm fine." And that word, fine, was her way of ending every truth before it began. Still, I kept quiet, because I wanted to see how far she would go, how deeply she'd bury herself before I decided to dig her out. I began noticing the small things, the company's sudden cash flow spike, her insistence on handling all the accounts herself, the way Darren's name started appearing in meeting memos I never approved. She thought I wouldn't notice. She forgot whose money built the company. She forgot who held 70% of its veins. I moved silently, shifted passwords, installed back-end trackers. No confrontations, no questions, just numbers. Emails showed their late-night transfers, hotel invoices under corporate wellness, a dinner in Dubai charged to the research team, her signature beside his every time. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it was financial, deliberate. She was building something new inside the shell of what I built, waiting to rip it out when I was distracted. So I stopped sleeping, stopped eating. Every night I sat in my office watching the security camera feed from her branch. I saw them once, together, in her office, his hand on her waist as she signed a deal I had paid for. I felt nothing. Not anger, not pain, just calculation. By the time the party arrived, everything was ready. The transfers rerouted, payments paused, approvals reversed. All I had to do was press a single button and turn 70% of her empire into dust. But I waited. I wanted to see her laugh first. And she did, right in my face. The truth arrived in numbers, not words. At 12:01 a.m., I logged in and canceled every payment tied to her branch. Salaries, vendors, sponsorships, the event itself. By 12:03, her company's cash reserves hit zero. By 12:10, the branch's account froze under my authorization code. At 12:15, I received a call. Unknown number. But I knew the voice. "You can't just," she started. I interrupted. "Lena, I can." And I did. There was silence. A ragged inhale, Then the smallest, most human sound I'd heard from her in months. Fear. "You're destroying everything." "No," I said. "I'm just taking back what was already mine." And then I ended the call. That was when the phone began to burn in my hand. Missed calls, notifications, 22 from her, 10 from Darren, the rest from board members, partners, press, all asking one thing: what happened? But I already knew. They'd seen the transfer log. They'd seen my exit. I didn't owe them words, only silence. At 1:02 a.m., the doorbell rang. I opened it. Lena stood there, her makeup smeared, the crimson dress now dull under the streetlights. She looked smaller, almost human again. "You can't just leave me like this," she said. "Can't I?" Her voice cracked. "Please, you don't understand. It wasn't supposed to." I stepped aside, letting the door frame her face. "You humiliated me in front of hundreds of people," I said quietly. "And you did it in a company built with my money, my time, my trust." Darren said. I don't care what Darren said. She flinched. I saw it. The realization that the man she had replaced me with didn't just lose her a marriage, he lost her a kingdom. I handed her an envelope. Inside, divorce papers, effective immediately, pre-signed. 70%, I said. That's what I owned. You keep the rest. Call it payment for the performance. Her eyes filled, but I didn't stay to watch them spill. I closed the door. She stayed outside for a long time. I could hear her breathing against the wood. Then, silence. At 2:30 a.m., the house was quiet again. The phone still buzzed somewhere, but I didn't check. I poured myself a drink, sat by the window, and watched the city lights flicker like dying circuits. I thought of the laughter, the way she looked at me, the way she thought I'd break. She didn't understand. Men like me don't break. We recalculate. By morning, news outlets were calling it a massive shareholder withdrawal, internal corruption, CEO collapse. I called it justice. Lena would survive, perhaps. People like her always do. But she would never walk into another room without remembering the sound of her empire collapsing behind her. And me? I didn't need revenge. I just needed silence. I looked at my phone one last time. 56 missed calls. I turned it off and whispered, "Now, laugh."